Hi everyone, this is Paul Lang from Discipline Trading Strategies, and this is a series of educational articles that are posted on the DTS Free Stuff page in one of various sections. This one is a very short discussion about is there subjectivity in the markets. It's a common question that comes up, and like a lot of questions in trading, it amazes me that sometimes there's obviously clearly an answer, it's been proven, it's decided, and yet it continues to be debated. Subjective versus objective, but is trading objective? Here's how it goes. Traders initially come to the market almost 100% subjective. They think the stock can't go any lower, the rally's really extended, the news wasn't all that good, and they make subjective decisions, which is the reason so many people fail. Your goal in becoming an excellent technical trader is to become as objective as you possibly can. That's what technical analysis does. However, it will never be 100% objective. That is impossible based on mathematical principles, and it's been proven many, many times. I'll discuss that more at the end. But first, I want to take you on an interesting little experiment. This is something that I've done in some free presentations, so perhaps you have seen it. But I thought I would break it out and put it on the website as a great demonstration about subjectivity. There will always be some subjectivity in the end, that little bit of art. That's what separates traders. These following slides are here to prove that. It is a very simple test and one that you cannot argue with. The goal of these slides is to show you that some subjectivity will always be there, but for a good trader, that subjectivity comes in at the end and is confined in the structure of the language of charts. In other words, like I said, your goal is to get as objective as you possibly can, to have structure, and that subjectivity is just that little bit of art that comes in making final decisions sometimes. It can be a big deal. It comes into how well you're trained, how well you know technical analysis, and to some degree, some maybe experience and seasoning. We're going to start with this, subjective versus objective. Which candle is more bullish? Now we're going to start off super simple here. 1 or 2. Now, if you don't know what candles are, you shouldn't be listening to this, but I suppose anyone who clicked on this knows what Japanese candles are. We have a big green candle, a big red candle. There's nothing to debate here. There's a point for showing that one first. Number 1 is clearly going to be the more bullish. That's why the little bull came over here on number 1. Number 1 is clearly more bullish. There's not a person on the planet that would disagree with that. Piece of cake. Let's try another one. Which one is more bullish here? Number 1 or number 2? Once again here, there could be a very small percentage that say 1 because it is green and number 2 is red. However, virtually every trader on the planet would say number 2 is more bullish because of this thing we call a bottoming tail. It means that prices went that low and they rally back all the way back to the open almost. Virtually every trader would say number 2. Let's continue on. How about now? We just took that number 2 and we added a little bit of red to it. See that 2, add a little red, 1, add a little green. To make the decision a little less obvious. So number 2 was the favorite to be bullish, but now we added some red to it, added some green to number 1. Virtually every trader would still say number 2. And by the way, I've done this live. Now here we go again. We're going to add a little more to number 2. Is that enough to change your mind? Probably not. At that point, most traders are still saying number 2, but it does make you think a minute because we opened up here, we fell this far, we came back that far, but there's still a lot of red. Here the bulls got kind of killed down to here, and they came back part of the way. Most people say number 2, I would as well. How about here? Just a little bit more on number 2. Well, we're still probably going to say bullish, but we're getting even closer. Notice that the movement there was even smaller in terms of adding red to number 2 and adding green to number 1. How about here? Now we're getting to an interesting point where we're about halfway erased the topping tail over here and halfway erased the bottoming tail here. Here's where we start to get a problem. Here's where people start switching over and saying number 1, about 50-50. And from here, the more we increase the green and decrease the red, the more and more and more we'll go from being questionable to kind of becoming more and more bullish until we eventually end up with the candles I show you at the very beginning where we're all green and all red. No question the last one's more bullish. If you go back to that first questionable one right here, this is where you could see if I were to take and just adjust this red and adjust this green a penny at a time, just the smallest increment, at some point in time I could have a room of 50 traders and 25 would say 1 is more bullish and 25 would say 2 is more bullish. And if they didn't do it at that number, I would just change by another penny. So if I could get 50 experienced traders together in a room and they would split right down the middle about the simplest question in trading, which candle is more bullish, that proves that there's obviously some subjectivity. This is proven in another way, because if things were able to be 100% objective, there would be some magical piece of software or some technical indicator that would work, because that's what they are. They're 100% objective. There's no thought process. And guess what? There's not a single one that works. If you think you have one, send it to me. I've been asking for 2 decades. I've never seen one yet. So keep this in mind. There is no objective way to trade the market. It doesn't exist. It never will exist. It's based on common sense and the simple mathematical concept that there has to be losers in the market. If there were 2 perfect systems, if there was a perfect system that you could use, well, who's going to lose? There will be a system on the opposing side. They'll neutralize each other. That's why program trading, that's why artificial intelligence, none of this will ever change anything in the marketplace if you're a good trader and you know what you're doing. Hope you've enjoyed this video. This is an educational video on the DTS Free Stuff page. While you're here, check out the other videos on the Free Stuff page. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email me. I am Paul, Paul, at disciplinedtradingstrategies.com.